Hello, I'm Andrew Wright with the first of two short samples of higher level of English to introduce my Andrew Wright English program. This level is for people who have already studied quite a lot of English, probably up to a good intermediate level or above, and who want to take their spoken English towards fluency. Not only fluency, however, because more important is still, I believe, absolute clarity. As I've said in each of the other short films here, in my opinion, it's really not good enough simply to excel at grammar and to have an outstanding vocabulary. If your audience, be it 2 or 200 people, can't hear what you say easily, they may still become bored and switch off, or fail to get your message. This is the main function of my Andrew Wright English, or AWE courses, to help or make you speak better, clearer English. If you watched my 5-minute overview and my 5-minute introduction films, you will be aware that I speak English with virtually no accent, the type which is known as Standard or BBC or Queen's English, which is the basis of all other English styles throughout the world. So if you adapt your speech to my style, you will have the best possibility of being understood, wherever you are in the world. And I suggest that this is a very positive advantage. May I remind you that in this higher level, I shall cover the remaining third 1,000 words most used in the English language. So you'll have successfully used around 86% of the most used English language by the time you complete these higher level courses. You can see here on my YouTube channel or on my andrewwrightenglish.com homepage that there are 6 of these 6-minute samples at 3 different levels. Though you may be quite comfortable at the higher level, I still advise you, if you haven't already done so, to watch and practice with the 4 samples at the lower and middle levels. You are looking at the AWE courses because you want to speak better, and there is no substitute for speaking to improve speaking. And in any case, though higher level English is obviously a worthwhile goal, we shouldn't forget that the majority of conversations will make use of quite straightforward, not to mention simple language. It's all good quality practice. Not a single word is wasted in my lessons. Don't forget too that if you're comfortable with this sample, it'd still be a good idea to confirm this by watching the second sample at this level afterwards. In case you missed the instructions in the other clips, let me quickly run through the simple method you'll need to use in order to get the best advantage from these courses. It's not rocket science, but it will require a high degree of concentration if you intend to advance as purposefully as possible. So in fact, right now, I want you to go back to the beginning of this section and start practicing. Here is a reminder of the method. Listen to me say a sentence or up to the marker and stop the recording. Repeat what I said and listen to yourself very carefully. If you have a tape recorder or a dictaphone or smartphone, record yourself. Go back and listen to me again and compare with what you said. Repeat this as necessary or until you are more or less the same as me. Note, when I say more or less, you may not achieve 100% similarity the first time, but get as close as you can to feel happy. Don't tire yourself out completely at the first attempt. You can go over the material again as many times as you want until you're up to the level you think is closest to me. By the way, that doesn't mean totally eradicating your native accent. As long as your English is clear, a slight accent is not only not a problem, but also adds touches of interest in international conversations. It's just a matter of how much is too much of an accent that gets in the way of understanding. So go back to the beginning and practice now. Right. Have you practiced everything up to here? Remember, it doesn't matter what English I'm speaking to you. Everything I say to you, absolutely everything, even this sentence, will help you to get better. If you find you're struggling at this level, just drop down to the middle level and do one of those courses until you feel up to speed. Then you can pop back up here to the higher ones later. The first higher level 6-hour introductory course will be online in August, with the 24-hour short course arriving in September and the longer ones arriving later in the year. Of course, at this level, I've made a lot of assumptions about your probable level of understanding. So the language we'll be using includes quite a lot that would be difficult or impossible for students at the lower levels. However, don't worry that it's all going to be unreasonably complicated. After all, as I said before, even at an advanced level, we do still use basic vocabulary and grammar. Even so, as you'd expect, some grammar and vocabulary may need further development, and there will certainly, by the full course, also be new material as well. Anyway, try it and see. And again, you can always have a look at the next level down if you decide you need a refresher. So, ladies and gentlemen, here is a summary list of the generally accepted topics as taught in English, and my first topic for you. Ask yourself, am I familiar with each of these? First one, verbs, simple and continuous forms of past, present and future aspects and tenses. Number 2, conditional verb forms from least to most probable. Number 3, passive verb construction as opposed to active. Number 4, reported or indirect speech. Number 5, use of the infinitive plus ing forms of verbs. Number 6, modal verbs of ability, possibility, obligation, negative obligation and prohibition, logical deduction, lack of necessity, and so on. Phrasal verbs. You should be well aware of the type of construction and widespread use of these, as well as having a reasonable experience of using them in appropriate contexts. Number 8, articles, definite, indefinite, and zero, or absence of article. Also other determiners. Number 9, countability of nouns. Can they be counted or not? The effect on articles and quantifiers, such as some, any, no, much and many, etc. Excuse me. Number 10, nouns, compound nouns and gerunds. Number 11, pronouns as subjects, objects and possessives. Number 12, adjectives including synonyms, antonyms, comparatives and superlatives, and the generally accepted order of adjectives in a sentence. Also, common prefixes and suffixes. Number 13, adverbs, both regular ones ending in ly and irregular ones, such as good, better and best. Relative clauses, number 14, those clauses which are used to describe or add extra information about a noun in a main clause. The two types are defining and non-defining. Number 15, all aspects of questions, including tag questions. And number 16, linking ideas, including conjunctions, such as cause and effect, contrasting and sequencing ones, plus quite a lot of other general English that doesn't necessarily or exactly come under any of those headings. In other words, you should be au fait with these topics, having learned English to about intermediate or B1 level. Now, as a second topic, and to give you a little kickstart, here are a few random excerpts from the list I've just run through. See if you're confident with them all. Verbs first. Here's an example of a present perfect simple sentence compared with a present perfect continuous one. You should have an idea of the subtle difference in meaning that's conveyed. Number one, since early last week, they've put the finishing touches to the proposal. Number two, since early last week, they've been putting the finishing touches to the proposal. Did you understand that in the first example, it sounds as if they have, in fact, finished the proposal, whereas in the second, it sounds as though they haven't yet completed it, or at least it isn't clear to us that they have. And another verb sample, this time 3 alternative ways of looking about an event in the future. Number 1, where will you be staying when you're in Zurich next month? Number 2, where are you staying when you're in Zurich next month? Number 3, where are you going to stay when you're in Zurich next month? Some people, even English people, would feel that there's not really a lot of, or indeed any difference between the 3 question formats. However, others would reasonably argue that in 1, the questioner assumes you possibly haven't yet made a decision. Number 2, the questioner assumes you have probably already made a reservation. And 3, the questioner assumes you have probably decided where you intend to stay, but possibly not yet done anything about reserving a room. In other words, as in quite a lot of examples of future use, the choice of format used by the speaker depends on how that person sees the event about which they are speaking or asking. Now, another reminder to go back, or is it that way, go back and practice. If you haven't done so, please. Fail to practice and you'll fail to win. Okay then, this third short topic looks at the difference between used to, be used to, and get used to, which sometimes causes confusion. If you know it well, that's fine, but the reading and practice will still benefit you, so do it. Remember, first of all, that none of these 3 expressions have any connection with the commonly known verb to use, as in, I prefer to use a fountain pen rather than a biro or ballpoint pen when I'm writing letters. So the first of these, used to, is separate from the other 2 expressions. Briefly, as you may recall, used to plus a basic verb form or infinitive is a widely spoken way of expressing a regular activity or state which happened or was true in the past, but probably isn't the case now at the time of speaking. 2 clear examples would be, I used to live in Manchester, but I moved to London in 1973. Number 2, my mum used to play a lot of tennis when she was younger, but not so much now. And you can ask questions and state negatives using used to as well, but later in the courses. On to the second expression, be used to. We say this when we're talking about something or somebody which is not strange or new to us, as in, I'm used to getting up at 5 o'clock now, though it was hard at first. Or, at first my new kitten was very nervous, but she's used to me now. And finally, the third expression, to get used to. This refers to the process of changing from not being used to something to being used to it, i.e. from finding it strange to finding it familiar. In the previous examples, we might say, when I first started my new job, I found it really difficult getting up at 5 o'clock, but of course I got used to it eventually. Or, at first my new kitten was very nervous, but she's getting used to me slowly. Okay, now I've given you a quick introduction to the kind of style you can expect. I suggest you move on to the second sample at this level, where you'll find more examples of higher level usage. Well, that's all I've time for in this video. So I'll make a few closing remarks. Number one is, naturally, to remind you to practice. Have you spoken all the material in this short session? Please, if you haven't, do so now all the way to the end, including all these instructions and remarks. Promise me? As always, if you've enjoyed this clip and found it useful, please hit the like button below and subscribe to Andrew Wright English. And don't forget to tell your colleagues and family and friends about me if they need English. And look out for the courses soon. Many thanks for your visit, and please enjoy your English. This was Andrew Wright presenting the first of 2 higher level sample lessons from Andrew Wright English. Again, thanks for watching, and bye for now.